Hello YouTube, it's Koki RC again. Here is an upgrade video that I am going to do on the Power Craze 17 miles per hour little car. I'm going to install a new motor on it, and here it is. That's the car, and this is the motor that I am going to install in it. No, I'm just kidding. Today's video is actually going to be about differential greasing on the 144001 by WLTOYS. And for those of you who do not know, the differential on the 144001 from factory comes with a very minimal amount of grease. And when I say very minimal, you can barely see it when you open the differentials. And of course, I didn't do the disassembling video since you see all the parts disassembled sitting in front of me. You will not be able to see that, but there's plenty of videos out there to show you how it looks when it comes from the factory. So that's one of the first recommendations that you get when you get a 144001. And along with that, I'm also going to do the shimless wobble wheel fix on this 144001. Mine is currently fixed. It doesn't have the wheel wobble, but that is with the shimmed fix, and I think I did a video on that already. But today we're going to do, because the parts finally came in, this is a 10-pack of bearings, believe it or not, for that. And credit to these two mods or upgrades or services. I have two people to mention. It's Me, Him, RC and John Robinson, RC. Again, Me, Him, RC and John Robinson, RC. Me, Him, RC is where I picked off the idea for the shimless conversion. I have seen them before, but nobody really gave the actual size of the bearings, or at least his was the first ones that I saw. And the size, I believe, is 4x7 by 2.5. So it's a 4mm hole, 7mm diameter, and 2.5 thickness, and we will go into that later. And the other video, which he has done many differential grease videos, is John Robinson RC. And John Robinson RC is where I pulled the grease that I'm going to be using, which is this Lucas White Lithium grease. He swears by it, so we're going to give it a shot today. And then also, to kind of give the bearings on the differential a quick service, I am going to be using this WD-40 dry lube. Now, John also uses a dry lube, and that's who I got the idea from, but this is a different brand, but I'm sure it's the same stuff. All right, so with no further ado, here goes the rebuild for the differential. Of course, one of the things that you have to be aware of, which is the most technical part of this instructional video, is that both of the little bars that go inside of the differential have grooves, and they have to meet inside of the differential. As you can see, the little groove right there. They have to meet inside of the differential. So you put this one down and the other one goes on top of it, and you marry those, and you're set and you're good. That's the most technical part about this mod. So what I am going to the differential is totally disassembled. This one I couldn't actually disassemble. Let me show you what it looks like on the inside. That's what it looks like on the inside. I could not get that screw out, and I didn't want to strip it, and I didn't want to break the differential, so I just left it in there. It's supposed to be a shim that goes behind it, and it should be there because it was on all the other parts that I have just taken off. So we're going to go ahead and start with that. All right, so what I am going to do is in this cup right here, I'm going to put a small amount of grease, and just enough so that so that it has a little bit of lubrication down there before we go with the little gears that go in here. This little too, not enough. All right, there you go. So, oh, crap, I got it on the side. I don't want to do that. So let's clean it. So Just about that much. It's not even half full. It's just so I can still see the groove and stuff when it goes in there, and it has something to kind of sit on to help you support it while you're trying to match the grooves. So the next thing we're going to do is take this right here, and I'm actually going to install shims behind it. That's another idea that's out there around the internet. These are actually 2.5 hole washers, and they seem a little bit big, and I haven't tried it on. I saw John do it, and his was kind of clanky. It was like not to his fault. He knew that the shims that he was using were too big, and he didn't have newer ones. But in a pinch, it fixes a problem of a slipping or a bad differential that is not working appropriately. And if it's just slipping like that, then you just kind of put shims behind it. And I am going to just do that and assemble it. And assembling it, you make sure that you put them facing the middle, as you can see right there, facing the middle. And that part is up, and then the middle of the shaft. And we're going to put another shim on here. The other shim fell on the other side, so I'm going to have to grab it out of my hand and put it in there. All right, so now here comes the technical part. I have to grab it with a tweezer. I wish I had the bent nose ones, but I don't, so I'm just going to try with these. All right, so there goes the shim again, and there goes the other shim. Not good. Alright, so let's put these shims back on. Hopefully I'll be able to hold all this together. Nope, not today. Other shim on the other side. Now I'm just going to kind of sit it in there and put the other shim as it goes in. I still have the other part, the shaft facing down, so everything is looking good so far. If I can just keep this shim on there, it just will not let me keep that shim on there. All right, one more time. Pull it out just a little bit like that. Put that shim in. And down she goes. Okay, so we finally got the shim on there. And we are going to press down lightly on it. Let's see if we can get it on video. Just enough to where it sits in there so that you can marry it. See, it's sitting on the grease. As you can see right there, it's sitting on the grease. And I have the shaft facing up. So now you build the next one, and you follow the same procedure. A little gear, shim. Let's see if I can do a better job this time. Gear, facing in just like you did the other one. Shim. And now we got to make sure that it's facing down the groove so that it marries to the next one. Hopefully I can get this done on the first try. Where is that groove? Not good. Butterfingers today, ain't I? Alright, so let's try this again. Shim. And I am just gonna have to make it work. Alright, there we go. Okay, it's going in. Facing down. I'm trying to see if it is facing down. And it is, okay. So I got it facing down. You see it's no flat on the top, so the other side must be on the other side. The other part should be on the other side. Okay. It looks like it meshed. Yes, indeed. And now you just press down on it and get it as far down as you can, kind of accommodating the gears as they go in. And I kind of like pushing them against the wall because they do kind of snap into a little groove that it has there. I've noticed that with this differential. All right, so there it is. Now we do a little kind of test, make sure that it's, yeah, it's turning. No, it's binding. There you go. Now it's turning. But the other one is not touching. It didn't go all the way down. There you go. Now it's all the way down. Yep. Now we got it moving. It keeps pushing it up because obviously I don't have it seated all the way down. Okay. All the way in. Okay. Now it's all the way in. Now we're going to add a little bit more grease. Some people fill it up to the point where they start squishing on the planetary gear, the sun gear, whatever this one is called, onto here, and it squirts out the hose, but I don't like doing that. So I am just going to fill it enough to where it is almost to the top. And one dab of grease right there. And I think that should be enough because there's more components to go in there. So that looks like plenty. Let's get this installed. So we got this, the bearing is installed on it. Let's do a little bit of dry lubing on the bearing right there. Okay, a little bit of dry lube on it. It's moving freely. Yep, no dirt, no noise. Okay, install this. Goes in like that. Turn it around. Now, there is a shim that goes in here. And for the purpose of this video, I am going to install it, but I had to remove, and this is a disclaimer, just in case. If you get the metal upgraded differentials, they do not have the shims installed on them because I checked. So I had to use the shims that came out of this. Now, that has metal differentials and differential casing, but that's a different story. So then you take this little gear right here, and it sits in there. It only sits one way, so we're going to install that shim if I stop dropping things. Shim goes right there, okay? And then you go and put that right there, and then make sure they use the machine screws, because once you take all the screws out, kind of align them how they're supposed to go. These screws over here are the ones that go into the actual gear that goes onto the plastic cap. These over here are the ones that close the differential case. So just because I'm paranoid, I am going to put a little bit of Loctite on this screw because it's metal on metal, and it just makes me paranoid that it's going to slip out in there and it's going to destroy my differential. Maybe I'm just crazy, but on the side of caution, that's what I'm going to do. And put that screw in there if I can keep my act together. I'm one-handed, so okay, so you can get this back meshed on there. Okay, there it goes. So with the Loctite, I'm going to seal this. And I love this screwdriver. I do have a tutorial video on it. It was the very first YouTube video that I ever did. And it's quite lengthy just to be for a screwdriver, but I love it. It just goes and it does the job. And when it stops right there, you stop using that. And then I have this little tool right here that I'm going to use to jam the back side of it so that I can actually put a little bit of torque into this screw. And that seems like enough to me. It's got Loctite in there, so it spins freely. Alright, so now the next part is putting the cap back on it. And I should put a little bit more grease. I thought this lithium grease was going to be a little bit thinner, but it is not. It's actually pretty stout grease. It's almost like caulking. That's the consistency that it kind of reminds me of. So there's a little bit more grease. I think that's plenty of grease in there. We're going to install this and align. Okay, so the little trick to this is the holes align, it has 4 little teeth. If you can see those 4 little teeth, those align in line with the shafts that are in there. And if you can get those aligned with the shafts, then your screw holes will be right where the holes are, and you will not have any issues installing this. So there is where the shaft is. Let's see if it touched the grease. This is my way that I am going to gauge if there's enough grease in there. It didn't come out the hose. So what I'm going to do now is look and see if it got grease on the gear. And it did. It completely covered it in grease, so that I know now, and that's a fail-safe way to test it, that you have enough grease in there. So put it back down just how it's supposed to go, and there you go. And now we have the screws that go on here. We got 1, 2, 3, and it's not cooperating with me. And I'm not going to Loctite these because these are actually going into plastic, so it should not be an issue. My general rule of thumb is if it's metal on metal, I'm Loctiting it. If it's just metal on plastic, then I am not Loctiting it. It's just something I've always done. Alright, then we go get those screws in there. Kind of came out of alignment a little bit there, but now it's back into place. And then you just finish them off. Kind of go around the, kind of like you do a car wheel, a car tire, star pattern. Put even pressure on it. Looks good on this side, no grease is coming out. Okay. Now it is a plastic case, so you don't want to go overly crazy trying to tighten this up, because you can easily strip the casing. Alright, so now it's installed. I didn't turn it before I closed it up, which is something I should have done, but I have faith that it's going to work. And to be truthful to you, it seems like the shims are a little bit big, but as you can hear, there is no grinding going on in there. Smooth, smooth, smooth. I do like this lithium grease, John. Thanks for the suggestion. It works great. I like how it feels. I really do like how this differential feels. And of course, another thing that I've noticed is that that differential grease, look, it's already starting to come out. Just put it in. And that's just from the screw because it bled through it. But if you look on the groove on the shaft right there, you see it. It's starting to come out. It flings all over the place. It's just the way it is. And it doesn't last very long in there because mine just spit it out almost instantaneously when I started driving. But I like the free play. It's actually moving pretty freely. I like it. Alright, so I should have pulled my instruction manual out because John reminded me that when you are installing this, to make sure that the differentials are installed the proper way. Reason being is, and I'm going to show you a way, I just kind of figured that out. So on the back side, you can't see it. There is no way to tell from the outside. Right, so there's no way that you can tell on the outside. But on the inside, there is a groove, okay? You just got to remember which one is which. Otherwise, you're just going to have to open these differentials. And I might just do that because of the fact that I do not want to put them together and then forget which side is which. Because the instructions will tell you, okay, so you see that groove right there? That's where that gear goes into. And also, you could install it backwards without noticing it. The other side does not have a groove. So the side that has the planet gear, put it to the side that has that groove. You can actually see the groove inside of the differential casing. So, following my own instructions, I will set it, make sure that the bearing sets in the correct place inside of the groove that's inside of the differential casing. And again, we're gonna give it a little bit dry lube. Okay. Then we're just gonna put a little bit of grease here so that when the drive shaft gear hits it, it has something to lube on, which, okay. And I am going to do this, put some grease on here, and I'm going to put it extremely close to the sun gear, and then do something with it. So now what I'm going to do, I put that on there. So now I am going to touch it, and kind of, you have to go in a smooth way, all the way around. And kind of put your finger against the corner and go round and round and round and round and round until you have that whole thing lubed up, and that gear should take some grease for when the gear goes in there. You should have enough grease on there to make it work. I think that's overkill. You can run that dry, I think, but I'm not sure. Yes, I'm no expert. Then anyway, so I mean, I'm not going to put it together, and I'm probably going to wipe that grease off because I just wanted to do the tutorial of the whole build. Then all you have to do is make sure that you install the cap on it, right? And then it closes right there. And then there it is. That's it. That's the whole not mod necessarily, but the service on it. It takes 6 screws of this type right here. That's the screw that goes in there in case you're like me that takes screws out and just throws them all over the place. I think it's an M3, M2, M2.5. I'm not sure, but it's the screws. It takes 6 on the differential case, and that does it. And now for the other part of the video, which is the other part that I wanted to do today. Let's move this to the side. So I have shims currently installed in my vehicle, but I am going to take them out and try Mayhem RC's method. I have to put this differential back together later, but I wanted to show you at least how to do it with one, and it worked beautifully. Thanks, John. Anyway, so let's take this apart, and I definitely need to get me a working platform. This is just not going to work on the long term. All right, so you take your wheel out. Okay, wheels out. Be careful when you take the hex knock out that you do not lose. Okay, there is a pin that goes behind this, and that's why I'm doing it here. I'm gonna just drop it. There it is. There's the pin. Okay, and now we are going to, how am I going to do this? Yes, I am going to remove the C-hub. Okay, so let's go with this screwdriver. It has a little bit of bigger screw on it. So I'm going to do it like this. I have them kind of loose because I was messing with the steering the other day, so I just left it loose because I knew I was going to do this soon enough. So, why am I doing this? I have my handy dandy mechanic over here. There you go. C-hub's coming out. Break the torque, which I don't think it does, because like I said, I think I had them loose. Yep. And this seems to be too small of a head for this screwdriver for this application, so I'm just going to keep going like this before I strip the screw out. Okay, this is really all you have to do. You just take it off of here. That C-hub's going to come right out. Should, in theory. And let's see if the C-hub comes out. Yep, it did. There you go, C-hub's out. So I will compare the bearings. See, as you can see, I don't know if you can see in the video, but there is the bearing and the shim. So here's the bearing and here's the shim. So we are going to take the bearing and the shim out because this is no longer going to be the application, and I'm not going to use these bearings either. I'm going to use, and I will compare them here in a minute so you can see the difference. So the bearings that I got are right here. They are prepare to copy. MR74 2RS bearings, and these are the black ones, and these are ABIC 3s, so they're kind of middle of the road. If you don't know what ABIC is, I didn't know either. It's how fast they can move, I think, to the best of my ability. That's what I think it is. Okay, so this is the stock bearing compared to the other bearing. You can tell that the top one, being the stock, is thinner, right, than the one that I am about to install. I think the stock is 2 millimeters, and the upgraded one to make it work is 2.5, and that's what gets the wheel wobble out of the way. So without further ado, all you do is you take, where'd that part go? Where'd my dog bone go? Hello? Hello? Is it still in the car? Yep, it's still in here. So you put one piece, one side, I'm sorry. Whoa. All right, so this has two sides, all right? There should be, actually this is sealed on both sides. I like that. The ones I ordered, if I'm not mistaken, let me look in the light. Yep, this one has the black seal on it. It is sealed on both sides. That I do like. The factory ones are not sealed on one side, and what happens is that, for me, I like to put it towards the inside of the wheel. If you have the stock ones, that way you prevent a little bit of dust from getting in there. Because if you face the open side to here, you're gonna get a lot more dust in there. So anyway, let's put this bearing on here. Well, it should be the correct way to do it, and I don't have. All right, so here it is. Here's the hub. This bearing goes in here, so you install it in there, and immediately you can see how it sticks out. It is kind of hard to show, but on the C-hub, if I lift it up a little bit, you can see how that bearing sticks out just a tad bit. That's the job that the washer does if you decide to use the washer thing, because with the 2 millimeter one, it sits pretty much flush against the hub. With this one, it goes above it, so it acts as the shim, and I think it's a lot better application than putting shims in, but that's just me. It didn't seem to affect anything when I had the shim in there, but just because I'm paranoid like that, and I think it is going to do something to it, then I just decided to, you know, do it that way. All right, so the shim is in there. I'm trying to get the dog bone back in so that I can install this and finish the job. And I'm just going to do the one side, and I am going to take stock bone is being complicated. Hold on. I need my two hands. There it goes. Went in. C-hub going back on. Okay. C-hub is back on. No, you can actually install this so that you have support on the outside when you go to do the outside part. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the screw. And of course I'm going to leave it a little bit loose because this car is currently under maintenance. I'm having problems with the electronics, and I need to get the steering right, and I need to do some aligning, but I'm going to put it snug but not tight. Do the other side. There it is. A little bit snug. You don't want to put that on too tight anyway, because it'll interfere with the motion, with the steering, with the mobility of the steering, especially with metal parts. All right, so here you go. You got that in. And now you have to put in the other bearing. And I should have sprayed it before I got it in there, but I didn't. But it's going to be okay. I can still get to it. Okay, get that other bearing in there. Kind of hold the dog bone like I'm doing right here, so you can get the pin back in. I'm going to turn it slightly so that the pin doesn't fall out as I'm putting it in. I like to have the pin sideways when I'm installing these things. Alright, there you go. Nut going back on. And wheel going back on. And we will test and see how well the 2.5 millimeter bearings go. And I didn't spray it. Got to use all the tricks that I've learned from these guys. Dry lube. On the other one, there you go. I'll wipe out the excess here in a minute. And oh, need this nut back on there. Okay. Sit it right. Sit it right. Going on. And here we go. Let's see. I'm kind of anxious to see how well this is actually going to work. Because the shim seemed to work just fine. So let's see how this... And this is not cross-threaded. I just don't know why it's not going in. There it goes. It's going in now. It's just a little tight. Going in. Because it is a lock washer inside of this nut. So. Alright. And, of course, I didn't show you any wheel wobble because I had no wheel wobble because I had fixed it with the shim. And, by the way, if you need a shim for it, it is a 4 millimeter diameter shim. It is extremely hard to find one that fits inside the hub, so I just put the bearing in and put the on the inside because I don't know if it was because of the metal parts, but the play on this one wasn't as bad, so I didn't have to do inside and out. I only did the inside with the shim. So if you're using metal parts, more than likely you only need to do the inside with a shim that looks like so. 4 millimeter hole, and it's about that thick. Maybe that's why I only needed one, because it was pretty thick. Alright, so there you have it. Thank you, Mihem RC, for pointing me in the right direction. No wobble, and it's actual bearings in there. I like it. I like it very much. Alright, so that's all I had as far as demonstrations for the day. But I do have the body that I was showing y'all last night. Let me go grab it. I have some ideas in my head of how it's going to install on the car. And this is just to end the video. Since I have already gotten this far, let's just do a little bit more. So here's the setup that I have going on. You saw the paint if you look at my video from last night. Electronics, everything fits nicely, but it's gonna be sitting a little bit higher than I wanted it to. I wanted it to squat down on the car like that to make it look extremely aggressive all the way down to the end of the chassis, like pretty much. That's going to be on the chassis. That's a little bit too much. I don't want it that far down. But if we level it with the chassis, that's kind of how I wanted it set, right there. The problem is that I'm not going to be able to do that because of the electronics. It's not going to give me enough clearance. So it's going to sit slightly higher and about right there, about half a centimeter below the shock tower mounts, which I think that's actually pretty good. That right there is a pretty decent height. It's still covering the side of the vehicle. I have to center it. And it looks like it's going to work very well. I might start the taping tonight. So we'll see how that goes, because I cannot wait to paint this body. This car is going to look so nice. It's already looking nice. I'm just waiting on some electronics, actually a radio, because my radio just does not want to work with my current setup. So other than that, thank you for watching. I appreciate for all the guys that have given me. Again, I will put them in the description. I will mention their names, Meehan RC and John Robinson RC. Thank you very much for the tips, and everything that I used here is no thanks to me. It is all thanks to them. Thank you for watching, and have a great night.